Oh, you're recording the Zoom meetings?
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
How's it going?
It's going pretty great. We're getting a lot of people trickling in, so I'm going to let
Oh, good.
a few more people before I say too much and then just end up repeating myself and boring everybody.
Okay.
Here we go. So it looks like we've got a lot of people in here.
Okay.
Welcome. Hey, I recognize some faces, some familiar faces and some new faces. I've been just having a wonderful time moderating these small group sessions. My only challenge is trying to keep everyone in length. I just did a terrible job in my last session. We were down to the last like 5 seconds because we get so many great organic, like free-flowing discussions, and I'm terrible at cutting people off. So
Yes.
it's the worst. I'm just really bad at it. It feels very karmic that this is now what I'm doing is cutting people off for today. So I'm just asking everybody when you talk as an attendee about yourself, if you can try to keep like 1 to 2 minutes where you describe either a project you're working on that you love our feedback on the pitch, or you've got a question about it. Maybe you're taking out to market, or maybe you're stuck in the next step, or some people have asked some really awesome general career questions like, I'm transitioning from this successful career in the industry, but now I want to do this, or, I want to be hired. My first job is a writer's assistant. How do I get there? And so we've had some of those great questions too. But if you can kind of describe in like a minute or two, either your project or your question, we'll jump in. I always say maybe we'll have more time at the end and then we'll leap back for second or third questions. That has never happened. It has never happened, but who knows? Maybe today could be the first time. So I'll try to keep everyone roughly on our time. And I usually start with introducing our just wonderful industry guests. I've just been blown away by all the wonderful people who've come to talk and share their journeys and insights. And I'll start with Jen, since you're one of the first faces I saw today. Jen, if you want to tell us a bit about your journey, what you do, anything you're really excited to be working on right now, or people you work with or working on that you can share with us. I know people always say NDA when I say that, but anything you can talk about.
Oh, no, no, no. I can talk about everything. I'm an open book. I am an open book. Please know this. Like my whole brand is based on emotional truth. So I am all about, I want you to access the deepest stuff in your mind and be able to understand how that links to your concept and what you want to say to the world. And how I got to this place is through my journey, which I was a studio executive for 12 and a half years at Spelling Television and CBS Paramount. Aaron Spelling was my mentor for 12 years, and I went up through the ranks through current programming. And what that taught me is, in terms of what you guys are looking at with show running, is it taught me how to look at story. So I learned from Aaron Spelling, and I got to see how he did it in the rough cut process. So once we'd have the shows in the can, he would do like a major amount of editing, and that's where we learned so much about story. But as a current executive, my job was to work with the executive producer showrunners from story concept to outline to script to screen. So what I got to see and do, number one, I got to help staff the writers and the directors and do the matchmaking of what personalities seemed like they would fit with the showrunner, where after 10 hours with the person, he wasn't or she wasn't going to throw them out the window. That was a huge part of the learning process. And then after Spelling at CBS Paramount, I was the vice president of current programming. And there it was the same thing, overseeing. At Spelling, I oversaw all the shows from 2004 to 1994 to 2004, and then at CBS Paramount from 2004 to 2007. And then I started my own company in 2008, and at the same time, I became the writing instructor for Writers on the Verge at NBC, and I was there for 13 years. So my background is really close to 30 years of analyzing story and figuring out how to make the story the best it possibly can be before it hits the air. And that's everything that I do in my business. I'm currently working on a product, a digital course called Story Therapy, Character and Character Dynamics. And it's all based on the idea of why do we return to certain shows? What is it about the character and character dynamics that are psychologically pulling us in and making us want to return? So that's me.
I love that. That was such a beautiful intro. Thank you for that, Jen. That was
My pleasure.
And Heather, you want to jump in next? You're also next to the top of my screen. If you want to talk a little bit about your journey in your career and what you've been working on lately and what you or your clients are working on that you can share with us that you're excited about.
Sure, sure. So I'm an agent at the Kaplan Stahler agency based in Los Angeles.
Right.
We have, yeah, Jennifer, I'm sure you know maybe some of my colleagues or some
Oh,
of our
yes.
clients.
Great. I do.
Yeah,
Big fan.
so thank you. So actually I work though on the unscripted side. So different than what Jennifer does. So I work in reality television. And basically, I have been working in unscripted television for over a decade now. I started out in the industry working at Sony Television in special events and talent relations, segued from there into figuring out what I wanted to do in the industry and worked for a few agencies, worked as an assistant in commercials, voiceover, dealing with adults and kids. And then a position opened up at Abrams Artist Agency, which is now A3, and they needed an assistant in their alternative or unscripted department, whatever you'd like to call it. And I started doing that and really enjoyed it, working with producers, talent, production companies, some social media influencers, and I just kept at it. And I became a coordinator, I became an agent. I went to a small agency in Studio City, started up their alternative department, representing producers and production companies. And then my old boss from Abrams brought me over to Kaplan Stahler, and I've been there ever since. And so, currently what I'm doing right now is still representing producers and production companies, a couple talent people who also develop their own shows. Right now we are selling a myriad of different projects to networks. We have projects out to all the big networks, A&E, History, Netflix. One of my clients has sold a project recently to BET through a production company that they're partnered with. We are getting interest on another project for one of my companies from Lifetime, and just like Jennifer was mentioning, it's about characters, it's about story. Whatever genre you're in, it doesn't matter. It's whatever's going to be compelling story, compelling characters, whether it's real people or fiction, and imaginative, it doesn't really matter. Story and characters trump everything. So yeah, that's
I love that.
Yeah.
I do too. That was awesome, Heather. Thank you. That was really cool. It's great to have we've only had a couple nonfiction people so far in the panels, and I'm always so excited to see them and bring that nonfiction perspective in too, which is great for a lot of our storytellers who have some nonfiction or those kind of projects that blur nonfiction and fiction and have that advice for us. And Max, you feel like jumping in and sharing a bit about your journey and what you're up to, anything you're excited about you can share with us?
Yeah, sure. Hi guys, my name is Max Perry. I started out doing a lot of theater in high school, college, and I sort of loved that aspect of it. I initially wanted to sort of act in addition to other things, and then thankfully I was disabused of that within a few years, which was for the best. Um, so I came out, I interned out here between my junior and senior year at Tom Hanks's company at Playtone, which was a very falsely positive, perhaps, perspective on what the industry was. It was like, oh yeah, this is the greatest ever. And he is really nice. But when I came out, it was actually right, I think when Jen was probably leaving, so it was right after the writer's strike and right when the recession hit. And so it was an odd time. And I ended up kind of knocking around as a production assistant and doing a bunch of different things, but realized that the collaborative element that I really missed from theater kind of was fulfilled with TV writing and with that kind of bouncing ideas and story and discussing all of those things. Um, so I kind of went all in on trying to do that. And I was very fortunate. I was able to get a job as a writer's PA on this show called Dig that was on USA. It was Jason Isaacs and sadly Anne Heche. No one really watched it, but it was a really interesting experience. And during that time, I was a finalist in a tracking board pilot competition, and so got a manager and started going out on meetings. And one of the two co-showrunners of that show is this guy named Gideon Raff, who created the show Homeland, as well as the show Tyrant. And so he and I got along really well, and he knew that I was writing. And so when that show wrapped, he asked if I had any samples that I, could show him, because as you do, he was so busy that he didn't have time to do everything. So he had a limited series that he owed a French producer, and it was this true story of this guy named Eli Cohen, who was an Israeli spy in Syria. It just so happened that one of my two pilots was a 1960s spy thriller he was telling a 1960s spy drama. So it was kind of kismet. So he and I worked on that together for, I guess from the time we started working to the time the show premiered, it was 4 years. So we wrote the entire thing together, and then I was fortunate enough to get to go and be in production with it in Morocco and Hungary for about 4 months. And subsequent to that, there's been a few things that have fallen apart because of the pandemic. But more recently, I've been writing more features because TV has been so sort of up and down, as well as doing a bunch of stuff actually with some podcast companies, both in terms of creating podcasts that could then be turned into series, as well as looking at their things that are already podcasts to see how to adapt them into series. So that's kind of one of the things that is now progressing more and more in addition to every other type of intellectual property. So that's kind of me. So I'm happy to help anyone else not make the same mistakes I've made over the decade plus I've been out here.
I love that. I love that. I'll really look forward to you sharing your shots with Eric, who's been on a few panels with me over the past couple days and has been asking some questions about kind of getting started as like a writer's assistant on TV. So I'll be happy to loop him in with you a little later. And last but certainly not least, Bennett, if you want to jump in and tell us a bit about yourself, journey, what you're working on, anything that you're excited about right now.
Sure. I had a little bit of an unorthodox start in the industry. I am from LA, so as much as my parents wanted me to do anything but, that's all I did. So I went to USC Film School, which was incredible. And I started interning for GK Films, which is Graham King's company. He made Argo, Departed, Gangs of New York. I was extremely lucky to get to work on Bohemian Rhapsody for about 4 years. So there's always an overlap in this industry that you'll learn right away. Everybody knows everybody, 6 degrees of separation. So Sacha Baron Cohen was originally supposed to play Freddie. So there's that overlap already.
Well, the funny thing is Rami Malek actually was attached first as our lead, and then
that's amazing.
Dropped off, and we didn't know why. And then we got Sacha, and we found out that he dropped off because he got Bohemian Rhapsody. So that
amazing. So like that happens a lot. So I actually got that job because I'm kind of a pain in the ass. I wanted to work there and they weren't hiring interns, so I just sat in the lobby for a few weeks, just, so I ended up interning there for like 3 years, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do in the industry. So I thought to myself, hey, why not take the LSAT and apply to law school? And I got into law school, and I told Graham and my boss at the time, Dennis, who has now recently gone on his own, that I was going to go to law school. And they essentially said, you're not going to law school, we'll give you a job. So I ended up not going to law school and taking the job working full-time at Graham's. About 2 years later, I got taken from Graham's to go work for Gore Verbinski, who's a director. He did the first 3 Pirates movies. He did Rango, he did The Mexican, he did some incredible movies. And that was a dream come true. Pirates was probably one of the biggest reasons I decided to get into the industry. The acting, the world building, the music, I mean, it takes you on a journey. And so working for Gore was the most enlightening experience of my life. Being a part of every single aspect of movie making is absurd. I mean, it's like the luckiest thing you could ever do, because you get to learn or work with somebody who's not only involved in every aspect, but I mean, he's blood, sweat, tears, living it 24/7. So he taught me a lot. He was an incredible mentor, and similar to Max, it gave me a whole wrong perception of the industry, because he was amazing, kind, generous. His family would invite me to dinner all the time. Like, it's not how it is. So granted, I've been slightly spoiled by the people I've gotten to work with. I think good people attract good people. I would hope so. Then from there, I realized I was ready to start making my dreams a reality. As much as I loved working for Gore, it was time. So I left just kind of unexpectedly, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I quit my job. Now what? So I decided to write a pilot just for shits and giggles. Sorry, I keep cursing. I don't know if we're allowed to do that. And it was loosely based off of a sophomore year in college, just because you write what you know, and I write comedy, and I love making people laugh, and comedy is what gets you through life. And I sent it to a friend who was an assistant at the time for Rick Yorn, who's a manager, just like to get her feedback. And I got a call the next day from a manager there asking if I wanted to be Jamie Foxx's writing partner. I mean, it was just, what? Okay. So the next day I went to Jamie Foxx's, and I spent the next 3 years being his writing partner, which once again was, incredible, learning from such a talent. And so from there, I have gone out now really on my own, writing my own roster. And on the side, I partner up with other types of talent. So whether it's a director, a actor, a model, a singer, if they want to write a project, they will work with me, and I will help them build out their story. Depending on what level they want to go into, I will co-write the script with them. I think I love to help people get whatever's in here out, because it's not going to help anybody if it's in your head. So I'm working on a lot of awesome projects. I'm under NDA for a lot of them, but I just finished an original musical, so that's exciting. I chose to do the hardest thing in the industry, so hopefully you'll see it in 20 years.
Oh, that's wonderful. We have an attendee who I was lucky enough to share a panel with, Sarah, who will come up later. And maybe I'll just start with Sarah, because she has a musical she's developing. And Sarah, if you want to tell us a bit about it, ask for feedback on the pitch, or throw out a question or a roadblock. It sounds like we've got a really well-equipped panel to help.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much. Yeah. My name is Sarah, and Bennett, it's super interesting hearing you say you finished an original musical, because I wrote one as well. Jen Grisanti reviewed it, gave me phenomenal feedback. And ever since you did, Jen, I have been spending the last year to year and a half doing massive rewrites. I've been fortunate to be a finalist in some competitions, never won. I wrote 10 original songs. I had 3 of them produced. That was the other thing I've been doing over the past year. They're on YouTube and I'm super excited. My musical is really like High School Musical on the beach. You could even say it's Dirty Dancing, but instead of dancing, there's surfing and of course the music component. So it's young adult. It was so much fun to write. I wrote it I wanted to write it a long time ago after my daughter watched High School Musical like 100 times, and she's constantly singing and dancing around the house. And it was like her joy was so contagious. I was like, oh my gosh, how cool a musical can do this. And I was, for fun, writing songs at the time. And so I'm finally done. Like it's finally packaged. I also did the pitch deck, the 3 produced songs, the screenplay rewrites. I've won, become a finalist in some competitions. And now I guess my question is, I do have a second screenplay that I'm rewriting now, but I really just have this one packaged screenplay. And what do I do? Like, is it better to query managers, agents, producers, financiers? Like, where do I go now? And how many screenplays should I write before I actually like get out there? I guess are my questions.
Okay, well, I'm happy to attack those. There's a lot of different ways to answer that. First of all, is this like the passion project, or do you want to be a writer? Do you want to continue writing, or is it that the musical you want to make?
I thought it was the musical I wanted to make, and then I started my second screenplay and I'm in rewrites and I just can't stop. Like, I love it. So both, it's kind of both. Yeah.
Well, so for the music, I would say keep writing, obviously, just
okay.
Finish the script.
Yeah.
Whatever you want, have ideas, bring them out, take them out of your head. In terms of the musical, that is probably the trickiest, and there's no answer to that, because original musicals are literally the hardest thing to do in this industry. There's not a known IP. You're not using, the Moulin Rouge tactic of songs that it's not a Marvel movie. So Hollywood would be taking a huge risk. And as we all know, Hollywood is a business.
Yes.
So to try and sell an original musical, I mean, you took on the hardest task. So congratulations. That is not an easy feat. I would say from my experience, it's really helpful to have a demo of every song.
Every song. Okay.
And it can be really just, we signed a deal with Psycho. So Simon Cowell's company, all that, solely based off of the music. They are giving us half of our financing. So even without reading the script, even without my partner's a really well-known director in the commercial music video world. So that would sell for us. Okay. But I would say do a demo of every song. Okay. And in terms of what your next steps are, there is no right answer for that. Seriously. Okay. You'll get a different opinion from everybody. That's part of the industry. Is it attaching a talent first because it's a musical? Maybe. Is it trying to go out and get an independent financer? Maybe. Is it going out and getting an agent manager? Maybe. There's no right answer. My musicals had so many ups and downs. Like I said, we have a deal with Psycho, who then said, well, we need to get a second financer. Okay, well, then we went to get a financer. The financer dropped out. Then we had a producer attached who said, okay, go get a superstar first. Okay, so we went to go get a superstar. We got a superstar attached, and all of a sudden the producer dropped out. So there's a million different ways you can go about it, but I would say try it all. Reach out to every single option, because there's no right order and there's no wrong order.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. That's so helpful. Great. Thank you.
Just to jump onto what Bennett just said, there's no right order or wrong order for basically anything in this business. And I think probably all the panelists would agree with me, is when it comes to selling anything, as long as you have attachments, pretty much you're in a better spot than you were before, because in this business, it's about relationships and attachments. And if you don't have basically both, you're not doing yourself any favors. So, and you're not going to get something sold. So, you know, relationships to somebody that is known in the industry or has a relationship themselves, and attachments is vitally important.
What do you think? And if this is too long and somebody else needs to go tell me, I was going to ask, because my sister's incredibly close to an 18-year-old. Oh gosh, she has like 10 million Instagram followers. She's like a big, you know, social media influencer. Is that smart to try and attach somebody like that due to a relationship I have? Because I've heard influencers can be positive and negative in terms of attachments.
There's no
No
wrong
right or wrong.
attached.
Okay, cool.
You know, it's a difficult situation, I guess, for some creators. I'm gonna be one of them, be honest. It's hard because social media has such power now. So, you know, a lot of movies, a lot of producers will want to attach a big social media presence because it has an audience already. Does that mean that they're talented and capable? Probably.
Right.
Can they do it?
Right.
Maybe. Can you hire an acting coach? Sure. But somebody with 10 million followers is going to bring money. And so therefore, yes, reach out, see if they can be a part of it in whatever capacity, have a meeting with them.
Okay.
You know, like Heather just said, any connection is better than none. Any attachment is better than none. So yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I think to Bennett's point, like if you should do some research into this person, because also too, what you have to remember is that when it comes to social media, a lot of influencers can buy their followers. And so that 10 million could be, in theory, like maybe only 200,000, which may not be that much, you know,
Yeah.
like there can be a lot of bots out there. So like when I've been looking for talent, when I was representing more talent in the past and earlier in my career, I would see all these people who had like so many hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers. But then when you really get to the nitty gritty, they actually only have not even a quarter of those amounts of followers. So just be cautious of that, because you may find that influencer you do know, it doesn't really have as many followers as you thought they did. So it may not be of actual help. And just again, like if they're not talented in that way, and they're only just like, you know, hawking products, it's not really all that useful to you, probably, if you're trying to sell a musical.
Wonderful.
Well, and first of all, followers are more valuable if they're yours.
That's true.
So because somebody else once removed has all of those followers does not mean that adds value to you, which you have to keep that in mind. And I also think you have to be very careful with who you do attach, because that can get in the way of something selling as well. So I do think, and I can tell everyone, I mean, you are so talented, you know, for me to see where you are at with your first thing. And in my experience, you should have 3 to 4 scripts in your portfolio. It's one, if you go out with one, you have to know. I have a very close friend who went from television to film and ended up becoming an Oscar winner after many, many years. But she said the one thing she wasn't prepared for from TV to film, and TV, she had 3 to 4 scripts. She knew that. But as soon as she went out with a feature that took her like a year of her life, the first question they asked was, what else have you got? And she wasn't prepared for that. So just be aware of that. And then I think any competitions that you are doing well in, making sure that you're utilizing that, not only on your creative bio, but like with reaching out, who are the panelists? Who are the judges? Are they agents and managers? Can you reach out to them? Is there something they can do?
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. jotting all this down. So if I look down, I am paying attention. I just write.
Yes, that was a
Thank
lot. And
you.
we have a really full house of attendees
Out you
today.
go. Thank
So I
you.
may stop people, maybe one or two industry panelists weigh in, and then I may stop just because I don't want to get to the last person having only 20 seconds to describe themselves and the thing is cut. So I'll move on to you, Laura, also at the top of my screen.
Sure.
You share.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll get to knock out two participants because I'm here with my business partner, Stefano. He's at the bottom.
We're co-directors. Yeah.
Yeah.
We own a production company together. So that's we can do both of us together. Laura, do you want to start first?
Yeah, go for it, Steph.
No, I just want to say it's so funny to hear about all the musical theater references, because my fiance is Sierra Bogus and she's reviving the Secret Garden at the Almanson, and so I'm inundated with so much musical theater at the house anyway. So we are documentary filmmakers. We shoot narrative and documentaries. Currently working on a project called Stolen Dough that we got a grant from the Russo brothers and Agbo, and it tells a story of an Italian inventor who invented stuffed crust pizza, pitched it to Pizza Hut, and then had that patent stolen, and then they launched a $45 million campaign of stuffed crust pizza, and then it was a $1 billion lawsuit. So the documentary basically follows this. But Anthony is such a big character that we've been working on a reality TV show, which is Family Fixes Everything. The Prophet meets the Kardashians. It's a Brooklyn family in the Catskills, sort of an 8-episode structure where, kind of like The Prophet, where you have someone come in and sort of fix a business. What's interesting about the Mangello family is that their grandfather, their father, and they all are in this cheese business. They all run it. Like if the brother-in-law is dating the sister, they're in on, whether it's in the reception or in the manufacturing, or they're all in it together as a family team. So
the whole family works together, so they create this really funny dynamic that's also dramatic. They're a very wholesome family because, like Steph said, they're this Brooklyn transplant that's like, in upstate New York at a Formaggio cheese plant. So there's that aspect of it that's kind of kooky and funny too. But we like the fact that it's also family driven, and a lot of, the successful reality TV shows are the ones that kind of veer in that personal direction while having those dramatic elements. So it's, this idea of learning about the cheese manufacturing industry through the lens of the Mangello family specifically.
Yeah. And Laura, wouldn't you say that? So in the episodes, we would try to focus on manufacturing companies that are family driven, somewhere in upstate New York or in other states that are obviously family driven and have bad debts. They want to maybe sell the business. Maybe things are going badly. There's a lot of family drama with what's going in, and they come in as role models who have gone through it all, seen it all, with these big personalities, and come in to sort of heal the business from a financial perspective, from a corporate perspective, and then also heal the family in return, and the sort of the lessons that have been learned from that. And big personalities. So this is our reality TV show that we are pitching to you guys. And Laura, anything you want to add?
Just in terms of network potential, we were thinking, obviously, top tier would be Netflix, but also like a TLC, Bravo, A&E type networking would be great too, because again, the emphasis on, kind of the family driven stint, shows on those networks tend to do well. And really at this point, we want to move forward with, financing to get it into the pilot stages. We do see this as like an 8-episode structure. That's where we're at right now.
Okay, I would suggest, first of all, that you guys, Stefano and Laura, put your contact information, websites, anything you have for this project into the group chat. So if, and since you're pitching it, if anyone is interested and wants to follow up, if they want to hear more info or want to talk to you more, they know how to find you. I would start with that. And then, because we don't have a ton of time, I'm going to shoot this straight over to Heather. If there's any feedback you want to offer either on the pitch itself or on them marketing it or next steps that just jumps out at you, if you have anything you'd like to share like that.
Yeah. Do you want me to just respond to them directly about it? Yeah. Oh, okay. Right now. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. If you
sorry.
Yeah.
So I just like for my first quick question with the Russo brothers grant that they gave you, was it for the like a documentary on the stolen idea or just the family in general?
So on the that's a great question.
Stolen idea.
It's on the stolen idea. It follows, we have all the deposition footage and all the different lawyers that were involved following the case of the patent infringement of him as an inventor and Pizza Hut stealing.
Are you making a documentary on that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Have you pitched that out yet?
We've already financed it. We're set. We're like 90% done. We're in post-production.
You're in post-production on that.
In post-production.
Okay. Did you pitch it out though to get finishing funds for it?
No, we haven't pitched for finishing funds. We're in the process of post-production right now. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would actually like to talk to you about that.
Sure.
Because I think I can help you get finishing funds for that. Because that actually sounds like a very fascinating idea. And then from there I would have to see the characters for this other idea, because like the profit, type of idea or a docu-series about the family, it always hinges on the talent. Like I can't make a judgment call based on like not having seen the talent. So we can discuss the project.
Would love that.
This and see if I think the talent is good enough for a show.
Yeah.
Awesome. Heather, how do we stay in touch with you?
Sorry, can you
directly message?
Yeah. Oh, here. That's your guys's. Can you give me your email addresses and I will just email you my information and we can.
Sure. I'm messaging you directly through the Zoom.
That's fine.
Right? Yeah.
Great.
Awesome. Thanks, Heather.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. I'm glad to get that connection and it just it's fabulous. Glad you guys can connect directly through the chat. And next I'll go up with you, Lauren, if you want to tell us either like a career question or a project you're working on specifically, we can give advice or feedback or any help on.
Yeah, of course. So I'm basically, I want to talk about my project that placed and won in the film festival. My screenplay, my history, I've worked with Jen before, so she knows I'm a TV writer. I started as a PA, climbed the ladder, and I got staffed and was on a show for several years and transitioned off my show in the pandemic. Kind of like what Max was speaking to, TV's kind of been, a little weird. I've never done development before because I've been tied to Warner Brothers for so long. So I'm really trying to dip my toes. I had a transition in my representation, so I'm working with a new manager. And this piece, Impregnation, is basically my passion project. I worked with Jen. I kind of wrote this to sort of be like Children of Men meets Squid Games. It's about a world where male fertility doesn't exist anymore. And there's a group of underground women that have the last of the sperm. So you kind of follow this one character who's desperately trying to be a mother, who kind of is like a conspiracy theorist and goes underground and joins this cult, tries to get pregnant. And since it is a passion project, because I won the film festival, I really want to try to sell this, develop it. I have experience, but I'm a low-level writer. Most women in the sci-fi genre space right now, it's limiting. They're either working, and I, like you guys were speaking to, I want to try to attach So just like any like advice of how to approach this, how to capitalize this through my manager, through my own contacts, or anything that you guys have found yourself, Bennett or Max, like that you can speak to about how to continue to push my passion project, because it's a little weird. I kind of wrote it in the hopes that when it slid across an executive's desk, they'd be like, oh, it's an underground cult, like hoarding sperm. That's either real wildly weird and not for us, or, it's weird enough I want to read it. So that's kind of like where I'm at. So any advice in general for like mid, I'm at like a co-pro level, to staff and like I said, kind of do development.
I mean, that just sounds like Los Angeles. I don't know what you're saying that somehow. That's not true for anyone else who's not from. But disclaimer, it's really I mean, the first thing I was going to say was attachments, because first of all, I'm sure I think we know people, and Christina Walker and some other people in common who I think we're probably yeah, my understanding, it's all weird right now. This is not to scare anyone who is not at that level, but it's a strange time. There's like a lot of upheaval. No one's sure what is a movie, what isn't a movie, what is TV, what no one know what it's all content. What is content? But at least from my understanding is certainly with something like that, the female-led production companies, I think, would be like Charlize Theron's. Like, you have all of these ones that are like they're doing really interesting stuff, and so maybe they attach to Star, or maybe they just kind of champion the project, and there's a bunch of them with people that have actual, whether that's maybe not Hello Sunshine, I don't know if them, but tonally there are a few, I think, that are really looking for that kind of stuff. And I've been told on multiple occasions, like I had some features that had male leads, and they were like, could you change it to a female lead, because Emily Blunt is looking for something that has like action or sci-fi, or Tessa Thompson is looking to do something sci-fi, or so like that is something that it seems like a lot of, female stars, females that have, some kind of value. I hate using these terms, but, are really interested in. And so I think that if there's a way to make, either with your reps or, to make a list of like those places and to really just like go out to them specifically, I think is probably a pretty cool. And look, the worst thing that happens is you get great meetings at those places, but I think that's probably the thing to do, because I guess the other option is to send it to the agencies. I'd be curious to hear Bennett's thought about this too, but like I have a script that, sat at Andrew Garfield's desk or whatever, the reps for him at CAA for like 4 months, and then got a pass, and you're like, okay, that probably could have been time that was better spent elsewhere. Like, again, no shade to him or his reps, but it's such a slow process going through the agencies that I think sending it to execs at those types of companies would be probably a really cool idea. Like Zoe Saldana's company, like there's a lot of people that are actually doing a lot of stuff. Sharon Horgan, I know, is doing a lot of stuff. And that sounds like something that might be up her alley, so to speak. So yeah, anyway, that's, I don't know if that's helpful enough, but the kind of wisdom that I can offer right now.
Yeah, totally. Thank you. Yeah, that's really
just to add little quick things. Did you say you had a treatment for it?
I have a deck right now.
Great. I think something like that may need one, just because sci-fi tends to maybe be a little trickier for certain people. So yeah, that's great. You sent this, you've talked to your manager about it?
Yeah, since I'm fairly new with him, it's sort of right now I'm in the phase of like sending pieces out just to like reintroduce myself and like that we're working together. And it's not exactly getting, the reaction that I'm hoping for. So yeah, I kind of feel like I really have to champion myself, and maybe like Max was speaking to, make the list and be like at the top of the year, this is where I want to take it out to. But yeah, I'm just finding it really challenging being a low-level writer and getting more traction with people, especially since my credit is from a CW show. So a lot of people kind of like are being credit snobs.
Yeah, just to add to what Max said, it's a really weird time. And you would think, oh, it's so easy. There's so much content everywhere. Watch a lot of it. It's not so good. It's like quick, really crappy content that's easy to make. And, so the good projects are just sitting there. Like that's how sad this is. But that was great advice from Max. You can get all of that information like IMDb. So many actors are building their own companies because they want more involvement, they want a choice in what they're starring in, all the different things. So there are so many production companies out there, and you can totally reach out to them right away, like directly. And then the last thing I was going to say, and I just had a brain fart, but you said you won at a festival with that script?
Yeah, I won this.
Oh, and so you were there direct people. Congratulations, that's huge. So they give you direct contact information of everybody, right?
No, and I'm like new to like submitting my work kind of this way, so I don't know if that's like
Do you know who voted? I'm sorry, I have no idea. But who was like the panel, the judges?
I don't. I think some of the people that are serving on this like networking that have been on the other days.
Maybe look who it was and reach out to them.
Okay.
I don't know who they were. Maybe they can help you. Obviously, you won, so I'm sure they want to be involved somehow or help you or give you advice too. So that's my other last piece of advice.
Cool. Thank you.
Great thoughts there. And I'll move on next to you. Eric. Eric's been on a few panels with me the last couple of days. It's been wonderful. And he has a really compelling, fascinating background he's shared and some great projects.
All right. Hi, thanks so much. Hi, everyone. I really appreciate the opportunity here today. So thank you. Jen, it's so great to see you. Anyone who hasn't had the opportunity to work with Jen, she's amazing and certainly had a huge impact on my work.
Thank you. You're amazing, by the way.
Thanks. So yeah, I'm Eric Long, emerging writer-director with over 31 screenwriting and shorts awards to my credit. I'm currently writing Kakowin, a very contained psychological mumblecore feature where a multiracial, two-spirit, indigene, queer millennial struggles to find his identity and survive while trapped on a deserted island in the Pacific Northwest with a sexist, racist, homophobic, and estranged uncle and the evil spirit beasts that haunt the island. I have financing. I look forward to making it next spring or summer. I also have been directing and writing for a luxury vehicle brand the past couple of years, and this year I've completed 2 TV pilots, one which Jen helped me a lot with. Cabbagetown Confidential, which is a 1-hour crime drama television series about a terminally ill private investigator who attempts to amend his misdeeds while keeping his niece, his aspiring partner, from uncovering his dark past. And the second one is Dr. Dose, which won Big Apple's TV Drama Awards. So that was really exciting. Thanks. And that one is a 1-hour teen drama series about a socially awkward neurodivergent teen with heightened observational skills and a gender transitioning hacker who team up at their elite private school to diagnose and treat the mental health issues of their fellow student body. So I'll get to my question now, which is basically, I'm based in LA and would love to connect with anyone willing to speak with me. I'm really trying to work as a script assistant, writer's assistant, find representation, or just basically figure out how to network better. And everybody talks about their big break. Do you have any advice how I move forward in what I'm doing, or what you would recommend I do next?
So there's a bunch of things. I would say in terms of finding writer's assistant, I will, again, I did this in the other thing. I'll be an evangelist for the writer's PA because I think it's an under promoted job that I think if you can, handle happily getting people lunch, you make people really happy and like you, and then you oftentimes have a lot of time to write on your own while like being around creative people. I think it's a better job than people give it credit for, and you also don't have to be doing this all day, for better or worse. But for unfortunately, the way to get those jobs is connections. And that doesn't necessarily mean like familial or whatever. It's just the people that you know. So in terms of like some of those mixers, also the pandemic screwed a lot of this up in terms of getting to know people. It made it way harder. JHRTS, I think I'm saying that correctly, is a really good one. It's the junior version of the HRTS, which is I forget what the acronym is, but it's a big industry organization. Thank you, Ben. If anyone knows, please. But they'll do mixers. It's a lot of people that are writers' assistants, writers' PAs, people that can be the connections that help you get that. Because for the most part, I think the way that you end up doing that is someone knows someone who goes, oh, hey, my friend is, oh, my showrunner or whatever we're hiring for this new position. It's really tough. Those jobs just don't end up on job boards that often. So it ends up being just hearing about it first, is really the way to do that. And so I would say use, as much as you can, use those organizations. There are a few other ones that are sort of like assistant organizations that I think would be really good. You can, I'm trying to think of what some of the other ones are on Facebook, on some of the other stuff. Actually, Lauren, you may know some of this more than I actually. But also even like writer Twitter. I know Noah, I recommended this before too, but Noah Evselin, I want to pronounce his name correctly, who's a writer on NCIS Hawaii, I think, or CSI Hawaii, one of the SIC's Hawaii shows, created like a separate Twitter, I forget what they're called, but I'm trying to look it up as we speak, like a community. There we go. Oh, that's so nice. It's a screenwriter. Here, let me actually see if I can just link to it right here. Hold on, put it in the chat. So this is supposedly a community, not supposedly, it is. It's just screenwriters, basically. So you can sort of do this, and it's like 2,000 screenwriters on Twitter, most of whom are lovely and supportive and things like that. And there may be things where, people are in that position where they could help you out, or you create a connection with someone, or you reach out, ask to grab coffee, So I wish that there was like an immediate, like, here's the secret website where they list all these jobs. But it may take a little while, a few months of like just kind of getting to know people and putting that out there. And then I think, otherwise I think probably continuing to submit to festivals is a great one. The fact that you're in LA is lovely because you can meet folks, but I would also say really, be judicious about the festivals that you submit to. Just because, look, it's your hard-earned money or the luxury brand's card money. Like you only, so the ones that are really going to be helpful and ones that you can also get feedback on. But there are some I think that you just kind of end up submitting to and there's not, this kind of support surrounding it. So those are my initial thoughts, but if anyone else wants to jump in, I can probably come up with some more as well. But yeah, it's just know that it takes a little bit, it takes some time. You're doing so much right by just working this much and writing this much. It's just going to be making those personal connections, which hopefully now that we're a little bit more social is going to be easier.
Yeah, I would suggest if anyone else has, first of all, Eric, please share your email or your contact in the group chat. And if anyone else has any suggestions, feel free to also share them in the group chat or reach out to Eric because we have 6 minutes left and 2 people.
Real quick to Eric, I know I'm on the unscripted side, but just real quick, a really great way is to become an assistant at either an agency or a management company, or for a development executive on the scripted side. Like if you can get one of those jobs, you will be exposed to all sorts of people, people who are also wanting to become writers. I will tell you, like, plenty of assistants at our agency have gone on to become writers, writing PAs, or even writers assistants. Just real quick.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. That's really helpful also. So I hope, Eric, you'll share your information with us in the group chat. And we can also follow up with thoughts or share your thoughts in the group chat. I'm going to try. I don't think that the Zoom will end automatically, so I may go a little bit over time just because we have 2 people left in 5 minutes, and that just seems really mean. And so if anyone has to leave, just leave. Don't worry about it. And maybe we'll go a little over time so that we can talk to these 2 wonderful people left, Chaz and Natalie. So let me start with you, Natalie. If you want to jump in with you have so many awesome things you're working on with a question on one of your projects or your career, jump in.
Well, for the sake of time, I won't go into my whole spiel and pitches of what I'm working on. So I'll just ask more general questions so maybe everyone can also benefit. So I want to talk about attachments. That is the biggest vice I'm having right now. I'm partnered with some even bigger names that have exclusive first looks, and we're struggling with attachments. So kind of 2-pronged, from people that are receiving, hey, can I attach your talent, as a rep or agent? What are you looking for? How can we get in and get those things? Like, what would make it more delightful for you to see? And then for the other side, if Bennett and Max have had success of what helps them get attachments for what they're working on. I know it's a complicated thing, but if anyone has insight, that would be super helpful.
Unfortunately, I feel like we're broken records, but it really is like who reaching out. And as much as you can have big names or whoever attached or big producers, everybody is struggling to attach somebody, right? So whether it's I know Lady Gaga's manager, I know her assistant, I know her best friend, I know all these people. Her schedule is booked out till 2028. So good luck with that, So there's always going to be roadblocks. And no matter the connections you have, you just have to keep reaching out. You have to, broaden your list. So let's say you have your dream list of attaching these 3 actresses, make it 30, and rank them your top favorite, because people's schedules, the amount of actors, actresses that are changing their reps, a lot of the bigger agencies are losing a lot of talent because now talent wants to go to smaller agencies. They want to be taken care of. So everything is shifting in the industry, and it'll always be shifting, right? That's just this industry. But so I don't know if you have like IMDb Pro, but like,
oh yeah,
look all of these things up. Do the 6 degrees of separation. See if you know this person from that place. See if you can get to them this way. The one other thing I will say is, like, maybe this is hard for some people, not for others. Like, you kind of have to put your pride aside and use those connections. I'm not saying use them all the time. Find the right time, find the right project, and use that connection. Pride is a very interesting thing in this industry, and you just throw it out the window. Reach out to who you can, make them love you, make them love your projects just as much. And hopefully either they have the connection, they'll help you, they'll reach out to who they think would, do what's best for you, and do it in good faith, right? So that's what we just have to hold on to, is these connections that we made. And like, I'm the worst networker in the world. I'm not good at socializing. I would consider myself like the basic writer stereotype, where like I like to live in my little hole and do not talk to me. I'm like not social. I don't want to do anything. I hate networking. I hate going to coffee. I'm so grateful for Zoom because I don't have to leave my house and talk to you forever and then feel awkward when I'm leaving. So what I mean by that is, like, networking isn't easy. Reaching out isn't easy. So put your pride aside and just like do it. My advice.
All of that is, yeah, totally. The only thing I would add, which is, I don't know if this is actually helpful, but it's this aspect is crappy in the industry right now, the attachment thing, and is probably going to be part of the issues that are happening with the WGA negotiations in the spring. Because traditionally this is what producers did. This isn't what, like, you got paid for a thing and then they went and tried to get, instead of it being like extra things. So it isn't good advice. It's just saying, like, we're all in this crappy boat together.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's a tough time, and it shouldn't be this way.
Yeah, no, I know it's a tough nut to crack, and it's all about persistence. It's all about chipping away at your network. And I know there's lots of other factors going into it, but yeah, it might just be a numbers game of just keep going.
Yeah, and
not
some of
doing
that
it
personal.
wrong.
Yeah, I mean, but as you were saying, the fact that you're connected with companies that have first looks and they're struggling, it's like it's going to be those execs and those people that know the agent or know the talent that are really going to be able to, I think, make headway. And so, yeah, it's a long road. But I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be complaining about this publicly within the next 6 to 7 months. So, you know.
Okay, well, we're not alone.
That one more time. I just met with a really good friend of mine who's an agent, and he was laughing at me because I was saying, you know, I have to reach out to this person, I have to do this. He's like, but you're a writer. And I was like, yeah, where have you been lately? What agents were doing for writers, what producers were doing, all of a sudden we're like, we have to be creatives and business people? What? Like, both sides of our brains have to function like that? They do now, and that's a new thing. So, you know, I agree with Max. And then the second thing is, I know we've all heard this before, but like, this industry takes forever, you know? And the example I like to use is Graham had the rights to Bohemian Rhapsody for 18 years. He was trying to make it for 18 years. So things take a little long in this industry. You know, Queen's Gambit was 12 years. So passion projects tend to take forever. That's just, you know, just remember that.
And thanks for everyone who has stayed with us, and feel free if you want to connect with anyone to add your emails or socials or websites in the group chat. And I'm going to hand it over to Chaz, who I've been lucky enough to share some small group sessions with lately, who has just a really unique life story and project that is really fascinating. So I'm going to hand it over to him now.
Hi, everybody, and thanks for staying over. I'll be quick and brief. I'm an artist. I'm a published author, Tales of a Jaguar Magician. I have a podcast, Teatro Absurdo, and I'm the owner of an artist retreat in Costa Rica. And that's where the story begins. As the artist and purveyor of the story in Costa Rica, this is, I guess, a passion project. It's a story that matters and needs to be told about another side to ecotourism. A lot of crimes in the story. I'm a queer artist. And listening to all of your people in the circle here, I just want to speak. Bennett, thank you. Just do it was probably my new mantra. Just do it. All of this stuff, you know, I worked in advertising forever, so everything's competitive, and just do it. If you're an artist, I'm 61, so keep doing it. To Max, thank you. You said, you know, look for what the core that drives you to do a story. And the core is yes, we do need to know a lot more about Central America and the influence of the US empire. And then also for Heather, I have a specific question. Do documentaries always need, if they're shot, do they always need to move to a script? And then I have a question for Jen, and then I'm done.
Okay. So with documentaries, if they're shot, they shouldn't have to have a script. You know, that's the whole thing with documentary films, is like, you don't need a script really at all, in fact, because it's, you know, documentary films. It's based on real people. It's shot with real people doing what they do every day. So there's no script needed, because you wouldn't have them say lines. They're just, you know, you're shooting their real life as it happens, or what's happening. You know, the only time in documentary or doc series when you have scripts is if you have a host and you need some host copy, or if you're doing true crime and there's recreations happening and you're using, you know, actors to recreate what went on in the crime, then sometimes you'll have some sort of a script. But again, when it comes to pitching unscripted projects in general, there's really no scripts at all. There's, you know, a deck which has like a synopsis of your project, you know, like a one-page synopsis of your project. If there's talent, like characters or talent involved that you're doing the project on. You know, you write out some bios of those talent and characters. You know, you should have like a style page, like a tone/style page, tone page about like how this show is going to be shot. You know, like what kind of cameras are going to use? Is it going to look premium for Netflix? Is it, you know, how is it going to look and feel? And, you know, an episode outline, how many episodes is it going to be? Or is it just going to be the one episode? And how is the episode going to be laid out? That's basically what you need. And then you need a sizzle reel. You know, a sizzle reel can be anywhere from 3 to 10 minutes long based on the content. You know, the shorter, more concise though, the better. You know, you want to lay out things in a clear way when it comes to unscripted projects.
Wow, that's awesome, Heather. Thank you so much. I mean, we do have an advisor from Vice on this who was just nominated for an Emmy. So we are working on the sizzle reels.
Nice.
Jen, I just want to say, you know, I watched this video, I think it's Film Courage or something with you, and I did extensive background on the story development because it is a documentary, but it's also a story. My one question for you is, you speak to the mystery of the wound, and can you, and starting with the flaw, you know, because we're working on developing the order of the narrative on the film, the documentary, can you just elaborate for a couple minutes, a second, on the mystery of the wound and the flaw?
Yes.
Any tidbit?
Absolutely. Well, I think here's my experience. So the tool I created is called Triangle of the Wound. And I actually think I created the tool after the Film Courage interview that I did. So it's an extension of looking at the wound through the triangle. So the triangle being the childhood wound, number one. Then you have a wound that happens before we enter the story. And then the inciting or trigger incident that happens in the story splits open both wounds. So you are developing your character from those 3 points. And with the childhood wound comes a flaw and a negative narrative. So with the childhood wound, very often, say for example, in Mare of Easttown, we learn in episode 7 that her negative narrative after her father committed suicide was, I'm not enough. So we see in her flaw, starting in the very first scene of the pilot, that you know, feeling of I'm not enough is coming out in her flaw, having to do with her lack of belief and low self-esteem. So the flaw is the story of the wound. So more and more stories are starting where we see the flaw, but they don't want to go into the wound until the climax, but they give us a hint. We see the flaw in its shining glory, so it makes us want to know the wound. And I see shows that start with the wound in real time and then cut to the present moment where we see the flaw that comes from the wound. So these are, in my experience, the shows that are rising to the top. You know, the understanding of the wound work, I've had 106 pilots sold right now by the writers I've worked with. The understanding of the wound work and the flaw makes all the difference in the selling of the project. So I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
That was a wonderful, tantalizing in for us. Thanks for everyone who stayed. I know we went very overtime. This was our last session, and I'm always so reluctant to end these. I'd probably stay here all day if I could. So thank you everyone for your time, your insights, your truthfulness, all the wonderful stories we've shared today. It's just been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, congrats to all.
Thank you. Yes. Bye.